Good evening, brothers, sisters, and everyone in between. Paul Duane here. Welcome to the Sunday Night Burn, fellow soul anarchists. I hope you have had a great week. So once a week, we get together here and talk about the process of living authentically and moving into your own power and living in your purpose, those sorts of things. And I've got a special one to share with you tonight. I'm really excited to do that. Many props to my lovely girlfriend for the lighting in here. Look at this. Isn't this better than some of my past video efforts? So thank you for doing that. She's just over there listening. And yeah, anyway, I'm grateful for the good light, because tonight what I want to share with you is, I think, one of the most important steps, or one of the most remarkable steps I've experienced in my own process, in my own hero's journey. So if this is the first time you've watched this, I want to bring you up to speed on what we've done so far. The first couple of weeks, we've gone through and talked about some of the beginning steps that people tend to go through, that I've gone through, every major character goes through, you probably have gone through in living their purpose. And the first step is that you find yourself in an ordinary world. You find yourself living your ho-hum, boring, unremarkable life. And then some sort of something comes along and opens your mind up to the idea there's something bigger for you to do, some bigger kind of work. The call comes. And then the third step in this is that the hero to be always rejects the call. And it goes something like this. Something like, who am I to do that? That's for other people. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have the resources. Other people, it's already been done. All those things, and 100 other excuses of why you shouldn't do this work that you were originally inspired to. Happens every time. Can you relate? It's happened to me. It's happened to everybody I've talked to that is in some stage of doing something really great in the world. But once you get past that, something really cool happens. And that's what we're talking about tonight. And this fourth step is often called the step of the supernatural aid. And I know it sounds kind of wacky, but I'm going to tell you a story of my own experience with supernatural aid. And at this point, well, before I get into this story, I want to share a quote with you that I think really resonates this idea that I want you to know about. So okay, where did my notes go? Haha, here we go. Okay. The attribution of this quote is a little bit murky. So a lot of people think they know who it came from, but actually nobody's quite sure where this came from. So I'm not going to worry about giving it a source at the moment. I'm just going to read it to you. Until one is committed, there's hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness, concerning all acts of initiative and creation. Truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have ever dreamed would have come his way. Whatever you can do, or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin now. And what we're going to talk about tonight is what the author of this quote points out, that the minute you decide, like the minute decision happens, it's one thing to think about a thing, to kick the ball around. It's one thing to say, oh, I want to, I like the idea, I intend to. Those are really different than that moment when you decide. That's a different thing. Yeah, the minute. Yeah, how does he put that again? The minute one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issues from the decision. So here's I'm going to share with you a time in my life when I made a decision. I got really honest and really clear with myself about something, and then something completely magical happened. I received some supernatural aid. So if you're watching this on Patreon, you will see a picture of me and an older lady. And this is a story about her, Tarananda. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link to the Patreon page so you can jump back and see it. Okay, you need to see this. So rewind several years ago. Here I am. I'm a letter carrier. I spent 4 years working for the U.S. Postal Service as a letter carrier. And at that point in my life, I was also a musician. Well, I still am, but I was in a band. I was in a working band at the time. And it was a fun band. It was this kind of pop punk band, and we were playing some fun shows and having a great time. But I had some other ambitions that I wanted to pursue musically, some bigger ideas that I've had in my head for a really long time. And there was nothing I could do with that current band. And I had been putting together in my head who I wanted to be, you know, what guitarist I wanted, who I wanted on drums, what kind of rhythm section I wanted to put together, and what electronic elements were going to be in it. And the one thing I couldn't figure out was what I wanted to do vocal wise. I could not think of anybody I wanted singing in it. I was just at this really weird impasse. I just couldn't. There's like a mental block I was having about the vocals for this band. And I was walking along one day, and I just had this quiet epiphany. I realized that I wanted to do vocals. So I play bass, and that's what I was planning on doing in this band, was playing bass. But I realized that I wanted to play bass and sing. But here's something you need to know. I'm terrified of singing. Like, I am. I don't know why. It would be easier for me to get up on stage and wag my dick around in front of the audience than to sing. I don't know. It just would. So, but I got really honest with myself in that moment, and I realized, holy shit, I actually want to do the vocals and play bass in this band, and I'm completely terrified of the idea for a lot of reasons. But all of a sudden, I realized, okay, that's how it's going to be. If this band happens, that's how it will be. You know? And it was that moment of decision, you know, it was that moment of clarity when I admitted to myself what the truth of the matter was and what I actually wanted to have happen. There was no more beating around the bush. And I walk down and deliver a couple more houses of mail, and then I get to this apartment complex, and there's this big mailbox that has 10, 15 units in it, and I'm standing there listening to a podcast. I'm probably listening to Joe Rogan or something, and I've got my earbuds in. I'm putting in mail, putting in the pizza coupons and the power bills and all that garbage. And when I was in that kind of work mode, I hated to be interrupted. Like, I was a grumpy mailman. I did not like people coming out and talking to me because I hated the job in the first place. And listening to my podcasts and audiobooks was the only way that I stayed sane. And so I just get really bugged when people interrupt that process. So anyway, this lady comes out while I'm putting the mail in. She comes out, and this little voice in the back of my head, the little voice says, "Say hi to her." And my initial thought was, that's bullshit. I don't want to say hi to her. I don't want to talk. I do not want to have a conversation right now. I'm in the middle of this podcast. I just don't want to be interrupted. I don't want to do it. But for whatever reason, I obeyed what the little voice said. And so I pulled an earbud out reluctantly, and I said, "Hi." She says hi back. The little voice comes to me again and says, "Oh, by the way, you need to know something. At this point in my life, I was agnostic, completely agnostic. I did not believe in God. I didn't believe I didn't have like a real hard position. There was no God, but I let go of everything. I was completely open to the idea that we're just a random carbon cycle, and when we die, everything just goes dark, and that's it. Beginning and end of the story, you know? So totally agnostic at this point. No real belief in anything bigger per se. So I'm having this voice that's like talking to me, you know? And so the next thing it says is, ask her what she does. And I'm thinking, this is bullshit. Like, I really don't want to have a conversation right now, but I did it anyway. And so I said, so what do you do? And she looked me right in the eyes without missing a beat. And she goes, I'm a vocal coach, and I teach people how to become comfortable with the sound of their own voice. And I about pooped my drawers right there. Like, I just had to pick my jaw back up because, well, and I said to her, I said, you know, you're never going to believe this, or maybe you will, but 4 minutes ago, I was standing on your corner. I'm a musician. I'm in a band. I want to start this other band. And I had this big existential crisis and this big breakdown and decision about the fact that I want to do vocals in this new band project, but I'm completely terrified of it. And then you come out. And without missing a beat, she looked at me and she said, of course, you called me out. Like, it was no thing to her. She was like, this is just normal for her. And so at that point, I was dumbfounded, and I just said, oh, all right, what do we do next? And she gives me her card, and I scheduled some sessions with her, and I went on to do these guided breathing and vocal toning meditations with her, and had some really profound experiences, like borderline like really spiritual experiences. I would say borderline psychedelic. I say that carefully because I don't want you to think it was like a druggy type thing. There was no alcohol, no drugs involved. But if you've ever had a really, really enlightening psychedelic experience that borders on the spiritual or goes right into the spiritual, that's what I had with her, just through these meditation sessions. It was incredible, and my life started changing after that. And from that point on, she's been one of the most important mentors in my life. Her name is Tarananda. And yeah, she is one of those examples of supernatural aid showing up. I mean, how does that even happen? How does somebody come out and just answer that call like that and just show up like that? It's wacky. And so I left that situation thinking, I don't know exactly how that happened, but that was not random. That was not chance. That was, there's something else going on here. Something bigger than me. Something, for lack of a better term, supernatural, absolutely at work here. And after that, I had many more experiences where supernatural aid has come to me. Messengers have come to me in various forms, in the dream world, in the real world, to tell me things. And it's been, yeah, it's been a fascinating thing. So the moral of the story here is that when you are in your process and you get past that point where you're done rejecting the call to greatness, you're done rejecting the call to do this thing that's bigger than you, that's going to take you up, that's going to require you to become a bigger version of yourself. When you stop rejecting that, the next thing that happens is the teacher arrives. Okay, and this is similar to Star Wars when Ben Kenobi shows up. You know, this is in every great hero story. Right after the hero is arguing about whether or not he's going to do the thing, the teacher arrives. They say, you know, you've heard it said before, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And that's what this is all about. And this will happen to you too. I'm confident of it. It's happened to me several times. I don't think I'm that special of a snowflake. I think I'm a pretty average person, and I think that it will happen to you in your way. Like, I don't know what yours will show up like, but I'm confident you'll have it. So, and it will often be surprising. I'll tell you that. My supernatural aid has shown up in really unexpected ways, like every time. So you have to be open to receiving information from some odd places at times. So be ready, be open, be willing to receive it. Anyway, so that's tonight's burn. That's what I want to share with you. If you have any comments, if you have questions, if you things you want to add, put them in the comments. I'll respond to those. either here on YouTube or on the Patreon page, which is where I prefer to have this dialogue happening. So if you're not on Patreon, jump over there. You can get there by going to soulanarchist.com. That'll take you right over to my Patreon page. And this series is for members only. This is, I don't put this stuff out in the public. This is my best stuff, and it's really valuable, and I've worked very, very hard for it, and I'm sharing it just with those who are really interested in hearing it. So just for my members. And anyway, those of you who have subscribed already, thank you. And I hope this resonates with you. Again, if there's anything I can do to help you along your way this week, drop me a drop a comment in on the Patreon page, or drop me a line there, and I'll definitely get back to you. So next week, come back Sunday night. Usually try to go on right around 9:12. Once in a while I'm a little late, but it's usually about 9:12 p.m. on Sunday nights. That's my goal time every week. So and just keep in mind, I say this every week, but I mean it, that when you live authentically, you make the world a better place, because not only do you get the joy of living on your own terms and all the inherent good things that come along with that, but there's a secondary set of effects that happen when you live authentically, and that is people watch you, and people are taking notes, and you may never hear from them. Most people are silent observers, and they will see the happiness you have, and they'll see the power that you have in your life, and they'll follow in your example. So it's a cool thing. Every time you do that, you have the possibility of influencing multiple people, who then may go on to influence multiple people as well. The ripple effect can be huge. So anyway, keep up the fine work. Fly your freak flag. Do your thing. Be you. Life is short. It's way too short to live according to anyone else's wishes. So anyway, if there's anything I can do to help you along that way, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Brothers, sisters, everyone in between, I love you very much. Cheers. Have a great night. See you here.